So if you've ever fed the arcade a week's worth allowance just to see Joe Musashi rescue just one more hostage, well, welcome back. Nearly 40 years later, the clan's still in danger, somehow. Only now the entire village has been petrified and you're the one who's late to the rescue. If you're new here, hi, I'm Squid. I cover action and shooter titles, and the name of the game here is Maximum Meaningful Info with Minimum Reaction Faces. So here's your TLDR. Shinobi, Art of Vengeance, is shaping up to be perhaps the most competent Sega revival since Streets of Rage 4. Lizardcube kept the speed, but grafted on modern combo depth, flow state, exploratory maps, and a risk-reward guard break system that explodes into dopamine fountains of gold, healing, and kunai. While graphics options on PC in the demo at least are a little bit sparse, I didn't run into any issues on performance, and unlike Ninja Gaiden, Shinobi seems like it runs pretty well on both Switch 1 and 2 based on the people I've talked to. Overall artistic vibes are leaning more in the watercolor, faux comic book vibe, which admittedly aren't going to be everybody's cup of tea. However, I think it works here. I was skeptical at first, but the more time I spent with the demo, the more invested I got with the entire ambiance of the thing. Full release for this is August 29th, 2025 on all your major consoles and PC. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon your degree of comparative impulse control, you can pay for early access to play it on the 25th for an additional charge. Whether you approve of that practice or not, it's a thing that's here to stay, so this is kind of one of those vote with your wallet and know thyself kind of moments. If you're on the fence, it doesn't cost you anything to wait. And most content creators are going to be, if not getting advance access, then definitely paying for access on the 25th to bring you full release coverage. So, like I said, it doesn't cost you anything to wait. See day one coverage, make your decision from that. Initial verdict for me is that it's an obvious day one purchase, at least for myself, unless of course they somehow manage to shuriken themselves in the foot during launch week or release. We'll see. Now, in terms of the limited information they present to us for the demo, opening chapters, kind of a playable 90s gut punch with an evil megacorp raiding their village, turning everybody to stone, stealing stuff, setting things on fire. The bad guy is just a bad guy for being bad's sake. You know, there's no troubled backstory, no deeper meaning. He's just like a bad guy. Capital B, capital G. I've kind of missed that in narratives. So this first level doubles as a tutorial while flexing, some really in-depth vertical level design and a pretty generous first series of maps that really sort of give you a vertical slice of most of the systems on offer here. There's a decent amount of exploration, some combat puzzles, some platforming puzzles, more on that later, and a series of checkpoints and shops that you can zip around between, which may not be traditionally Shinobi, but I'm here for the convenience of. If I had to try to boil the combat moment-to-moment gameplay down for at least what we can see in the demo for Shinobi, it would be momentum. Whether you're bouncing between light and heavy attacks with your katana, weaving kunai in jumps or dodges, combos into or out of rolls, the game really wants you to think proactively, almost Katana Zero-esque in a way. In addition to your standard fare of unlockable additional combos a la Devil May Cry, there's also specific skills like the kunai burst or various ninjutsus you can add, everything from a standard fire breath to a kunai explosion, as well as just rage mode where Joe goes kind of Super Saiyan and it explodinates everything on the screen. It's nifty. I'd be curious to see what sort of spectacle the devs can offer when other attacks that use that rage mode are on offer. And based on what we can see from the demo, we add in a skill tree, amulets, new katanas, arcade score variants at each checkpoint and for each level after you've cleared it, and you end up with almost a Metroid-flavored Shinobi that rewards backtracking for secrets and higher ranks and really kind of leans into that completionist vibe and encourages differences of purposeful routing to see how you can navigate things to get just a higher score. Now, in terms of difficulty and accessibility options here, we can kind of forget the arcade or NES controller through drywall moments of antiquity. Now, that's not to say that the game is without challenge. Don't worry, there's optional rift areas that do hit Celeste tier platforming difficulty. I have mixed feelings on that. I imagine there's going to be some eye twitches and forehead veins during the playthrough. Should be fun. In addition to that, there's combat gauntlets where you fight elite members of the evil corporation. You clear all those out, you unlock new stuff. Optional, but we all know it's not really optional. Come on, you're going to give me an opportunity to go do a really hard thing to get even stronger? Yeah, I'm doing that. Now, in terms of level design, at least with the limited slice we have from the demo, I'm not seeing anything that's truly labyrinthine. That said, stages do sprawl up, down, sideways, diagonally, all of that. There is exploration, there's multiple routes. Looks good so far. If they can maintain that degree of complexity or even add on to it as you progress through the game, I think we're in for something that's really special here. That percentage tracker on each level openly taunts the inner completionist in all of us. Now, in terms of art and overall vibes, Lizardcube's hand-drawn art pops with layered parallax. Finishing blows drop frames intentionally for that manga panel impact. It's the same talent that resurrected Streets of Rage 4, and that pedigree shows here. Music is classic Sega energy with a modern punch. Even early demo voice work lands, and that was perhaps one thing that really was lacking with Ragebound, at least on my end, just because everything was text-based, but there was no voice acting. Including it here is a nice quality of life. Further leaning into comparison and contrast here, against Ninja Gaiden Ragebound's weighty precision but spammy action, Art of Vengeance is pure flow, as I said earlier. Animation cancel windows over deliberate wind-ups. My worry here is that later stages have to juggle that clarity of seeing what's going on and clarity of action with that spectacle that they're leaning into with the art style, so that screen-wide flashes and particle effects and all of that fun stuff that gives us all the dopamine doesn't murder readability or frame pacing. Overall, if the full game maintains the demo's pacing and technical polish, Shinobi Art of Vengeance could end up being the Shinobi 3 of the modern era. Fast, expressive, surprisingly deep, and blissfully replayable. Keep it on your radar, sharpen your kunai, and maybe start stretching that left thumb now. Musashi moves quick.